Yes, again, welcome you back in the next part of this moment of existentialism. So we were talking about Kierkegaard and who talked about this teleological truth, in which this human reason was suspended, and he uh, emphasized that when the God comes to talk human, to then God speaks in His own way. So that was one philosopher, Kierkegaard, and the second philosopher from this theory was again this Martin Heidegger. His book being in his book Being and Time gave a very impressive analysis of human existence. The prominence of the important theme of existentialism like care, anxiety, guilt, and above all death is brought out here. Man is alone in the godless universe, and he said that whenever he does something bad, then there's the feeling of anxiety, and again there's the guilt. This guilt basically is the outcome of the situation when any individual does something bad, or this then when he because man has the freedom to choose, and because of this freedom he chooses bad things or he chooses bad choices. Ultimately becomes subject to anxiety, subject to guilt, and subject to depression, and man is all alone in that situation. And other potential philosopher of this theory of existentialism is Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre, yes, he was a French philosopher and literature critic, and he was one of the key figures in the philosophy of existentialism and phenomenology, and one of the leading figures in 20th century French philosophy. He's a originator of existentialism as he believes humans are fundamentally different from things like cars and watches and our phones. As an atheist, Sartre didn't believe humans were designed. He doesn't believe in essentialism. He said that man is not an object like other objects of nature. So man has got a freedom, he has got free will, and his choice, and these all things determine and affect the society. And he's one of the group of existentialists who states that natural state of the universe is chaos. To them, in this nature, there's no order, there's no connections, but this is a full of a chaos, and there's no order at all. But it is man by man is artificial. Okay, created by man is artificial. Whatever the order is, that's not a product of the nature. Nature in its a natural form is full of a chaos, but human has created order in it with the help of his own wisdom, his own choice, and freedom. So, according to these existentialists, we must create our own order out of this inherent chaos. So, they again say that you are not born with this concrete ideas. You are thrown in this world, and then you develop your existence, or you add purpose to your meaning. You see that here's the word the condemned to be free. Means why? He said that you are born, you are thrown, and you are free, and now whatever you do in this world is your choice, good and bad, so you are condemned, and this freedom is a responsibility. Human beings have no essence before their existence. Now here the contention is subverted. Plato and Aristotle, they believe that essence comes first, then existence. They believe that no, essence comes later on. First, there's existence, then people do actions, and on the basis of that actions, their essence is determined. So we are left alone without excuse. For them, there's no excuse in your life. If you are good or you're bad, there's no excuse. This is a choice, and this choice is completely on the part of individual. They select in their life, they move forward. Okay. So to Sartre, the human condition is a paradox. Okay. Thanks to Descartes, we know we exist, he said, but I think, therefore I am. But Sartre, there is no explanation of how or why. Because Descartes said that I think, therefore I am. But Sartre said, no, no, there's no explanation of how or why. This how and why is only the product of human actions, and they are chosen carefully. And then other philosophers is Nietzsche, and this Friedrich Nietzsche. He's atheist philosopher. He is very highly controversial as a philosopher, but he means that religion can no longer offer people a sufficient moral code. Religious morality to him had failed, and he claimed that God is dead because God is dead in a sense that whatever the morality that his religion propagated or preached to the people ultimately don't practice it. So the religion has failed to keep this human safe and to keep this world in order or to give a moral values high courts. But he believed that this um, what we call slave morality and master morality that's going to work. So then morality is no longer self-evident. We have to figure out from wrong for ourselves. So we have to figure right from wrong for ourselves. There's no established morality, and we have to choose. And we have to choose with our conscience and with our reasons and with rationality to the right choices at the right time to make this world worth living. So Nietzsche view recent developments in modern science and the increasing secularizations of European society had effectively killed the Abrahamic God who had served as the basis for meaning and the values in the West for that. So he, in that sense, was atheist. He didn't believe in a God, and so he to him. Now, I already mentioned there's two interpretation that he they mean that God is dead, but he mean that the way the people are living. For them, God is dead because all the religious codes have not brought any positivity in the life of the people. They are full of chaos. They are cheater. They are blackmailer. They exploit, and they commit every sort of evil act. So for them, there's no God. Nietzsche also considered the role of making free choices. Yes, you know that Sartre has rightly talked about these free choices are there, particularly regarding fundamental values and beliefs and how such choices change the nature and identity of chooser. So yes, Sartre is also talking about that thing that whatever you choose in your life, they determine your choice, your free, your characters, and they determine your identity. And death of God would eventually lead to the loss of any universal perspective on things, and along with it, any coherent sense of objective truth. So he said that with this notion individuality, we would come up with the individual belief, and that a new truth would come upon the state. This objective truth would die, the subjective truth would come on the surface, and this subjective truth later on came into this. Even nowadays, truth is quite relative, it is not objective. And so these people throughout history, Western thought was centered on this philosophy of religion, from whose tenets, meanings, and morality and purpose of life was given. But Nietzsche predicted that gradually belief in religion and philosophy would diminish, moving civilization towards a day where people would have no belief. So he started this theory of nihilism. Nihilism means that when you reject these all sort of belief system imposed upon an individual from customs, conventions, and generation to generations, but the people have to live a life without any predetermined belief, and they have to sort out their values and to live accordingly. So he predicted that the emergence of the science would, in large part, drive humanity's march towards nihilism. To him, nihilism is the death to this all predetermined religious and other sort of values, and the people would live individual life. And again, there was a contributions of Charles Darwin's to this idea as well, who said that man is not created because the theory of evolution rejected the theory of creation, and it believed that the theory of evolution came into existence. So this type of nihilism would emerge, and he believed that without God, man is free, and this will unleash the individual's will to power, thereby driving the essence of civilization. So when the people would get rid of these dogmas, they would come out of these the dogmatic ideas, and they would live individually. They would pave the way for the civilization. They would sail across the sea of this search, and out of this search they would determine the new horizon, and the new things would dawn upon humanity. And this was what, and some glimpses of this theory you find in when you study especially Percy Shelley's work, in which Prometheus Unbound, where he is going, these all objects of natures are there, and when he is going to address to Prometheus, and Prometheus is going to address, sorry, to Zeus, and when he says, Zeus, that all these objects of nature, they have been bowing you, and the people have been serving you, they have been rendering sacrifices in your name, but you have plagued them with the diseases and storms and all sort of inflections and all sort of natural disasters you have subjected unto men. And here he said that Prometheus stands as an individual that challenges the atrocity and the cruel act committed on the part of his Zeus against humanity. So here, Nietzsche said that once the people will get rid of these dogmas, they would live individual life in a meaningful. Then we come to another philosopher, is Albert Camus, and he's the abstract philosopher. And to him, much of our life is built on the hope of tomorrow, yet tomorrow brings us closer to death and the end ultimate enemy. So everything is there. You are trying, you think that something is there. People live as if they didn't know about the certainty of death. Once stripped of its a common romanticism, the world is a foreign, strange, and inhuman in place. So this is not a wonderful place to live in accordance with the absurdity of Albert Camus. The world is full of uncertainties, and there are the things they are going to impact your life, and sometimes even these non-living things, uh, innate things, they can also impact your life. And it was really surprising that Albert Camus himself died of a road accident after giving a lectures. When he was on the way, he died in road accident. So the car and the material, they affected his life. So he said that life is full of uncertainty. There's no uncertainty. Everything's absurd, and you get shocked when these surroundings they create a situations in which you are quite passive agent, and these object, they can kill you, and one can die in a road accident. And sometimes the people who don't contribute, they are living, and those the people who contribute, they are dead. So many people, they don't contribute anything. Daily on daily basis, they are sitting in hotels and wasting time. They are simple burden on the society. But the driver who contributes for the society, there's a road accident, the driver is dead, who has been looking after his children and family, and who was a positive person who was going to contribute something in a society. The driver is dead. But on the other hand, the persons who were simply burden on the society, sitting in hotels and investing in the time, these people are again alive. So where's the reason? Where's the rationality in the nature? So he said that our life is full of uncertainties. Same example, suppose a person who just works hard and works a lot, and one day he dies, and the other person who does nothing, and he also dies. And if you will dig the graves of both, he's nothing but heaps of bone. The person who has been working a lot, what is ultimately? Simple, heaps of bone. The person who has not been working, ultimately, again, heaps of bone. So then what's the difference? Then what's the use of doing these all hard work, etc.? And sometimes it becomes because these objects and other things, they have their impact on human life. So man's life seems quite irrational. There's no sense. And these all things created anxiety and the depressions in human life. Suppose an individual who works a lot and compromises all his enjoys and all his celebrations. Even he doesn't um, allow himself to participate the ceremonies of their nearest and dearest, and remains committed to his or her studies, passes the exam of CSS, and it is a time to join. And on the very day of joining, he meets an accident and he dies. So that is the absurdity of a life. And life is full of these all sort of uncertainties. And so he says that out of these absurdities, you have to live. But he doesn't quit. His characters don't quit the life. They keep living. But to him, there's not a concrete purpose to live, but they keep living with this life. And Albert Camus' plague is there, and Dr. Rios' characters is there, who is going to support humanity, not for any sake. Ultimately, he dies, but he's living like this. So true knowledge is impossible, and rationality and the science cannot explain the world, because this world is full of disorder, it's full of chaos, it's full of irrationality, And I gave you many examples of his contentions, that how he tries to look at these things. Okay, so the inevitability of death is there. Camus believed that life is absurd, but can still have a meaning. The fact that it cannot be made rational is what makes it wonderful. So you cannot make it rational. That makes it wonderful. It's so full of uncertainties, and these uncertainties is God's own magic to live with. Camus begins with the issues of facing the inevitability of death. That it is inevitable. You cannot avoid that. We must accept that we will one day die and then chase meaning in life. So this death is there. It will be there. We cannot get rid of this thing. But again, we have to just make meaning out of this chaotic and disorderly world. So for him, the champion of a just but lost cause is a Camus' hero, like a Sisyphus. Sisyphus is a person, is a character, a mythological character who has been condemned by God to roll up the stone to the top of the mountain. And once this heavy stone reaches the top, it slips down, comes down again. Sisyphus comes down and starts rolling up the stone to the top, the peak of the hill. And this is the continuous struggle what man is doing. So these are existentialism is a big idea. We search for the meaning of our own existence in this theory. Reality is a lived experience. It is not imposed. It's not objective. It's a subjective. We need to confront alienations and anxiety and the absurdity of life with courage. Here, to them, the life is full of this alienations, anxiety, depressions, absurdity, but we have to deal it with the courage, and we have to associate its meaning through our freedom. And with the help of this freedom, we choose positive actions, and those actions will give meaning to our life. Okay, we should live a moral life because even though I determine my own essence, I share a common human conditions. So nothing defines you but you. That's what is going to define. And these are most seven themes. Common themes in existentialism is existence versus essence. So whether man is born first or the essence is the first, they talk that no, man is not born first. Man is born first. Then through a freedom he chooses, and twice they give him an action, and on the basis of that actions, his essence is built up. So that's the things. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. You create with your own entity. Okay, anxiety and angst is there always. Life is full of this anxiety, it's full of angst, it's full of fear, it's full of dread. There's a depression, but out of this thing, you can't be having a life of peace and like these type of things. But out of this thing, we have to make our own meaning and to live with this anxiety, depression, starters, torments, and to make up a life, because there's to them this world doesn't has any, sorry, it doesn't have any um, order, it doesn't have any peace, but it is quite irrational. And out of this irrationality and this chaos and disorder, as a human, we have to make our own peace in this world of chaos. And this peace could be done with help of agency, what individual is born with. So this anxiety and and this angst, we can deal with this thing. Our lives appear both meaningless, and we are entirely responsible for our lives. We have to make our own meaning. It's relatively easy to say, well, God has a plan. So those million of people, the Nazi killed, are those 350 who died in the 9/11 must have died for a reason. But no, this was all about the choice of the individuals. Individual imposed this destruction upon humanity. It was not. Absurdity is there. Why am I? These are the questions. They always keep haunting mind of every individual. And what's the purpose of my life? Am I simply a small speck in the universe, in a world that has no meaning? Where am I? What is this? What is this thing called the world? What this world is? Who is it? Who has lured me into the things and now leaves me here? Who am I? How did I come into the world? Why was I not consulted? These are the questions. And here in a picture, you see that the Sisyphus who is rolling up the stone to the top of this mountain. And once it reaches the top, it falls down and again Sisyphus comes. So we all are born with the burden of this stone. Our existence, our body, our life is like this stone, and every day we keep is rolling up to the pinnacle of success and living a meaningful and purposeful life. But later on, there comes jerks and jolts in our life, and this stone rolls down to the bottom, and we are fallen, we are in despair, we are subject to anxiety, we are in a state of depression, and again we try to recoil our strength, and we start our journey back this house. So then absurdity, life is full of this absurdity, life is absurd, and the reason is important to deal with the depth of human life. So we don't have any kind of a clear cut idea. What is the life? What is the meaning of life? Whatever you want it to be. So it is individual agency, what meaning you want to connect with the thing, but there's alienation. You feel that you are quite alienated, you are alone, you are aloof, you are segregated, you are separated, you are marginalized, you are looked down upon, you are not given that much respect, and you are not hugged, you are not cared, you are not respected. So then you feel quite alienated. You feel that this life is full of uh, these kind of differences. So experience the feeling of being separate, lost, confused. And modernity has only added to this problem. We are alienated by our own creation, science, capitalism, politics, religion, technology, etc. Today, you know that we are living in a well-knit world. Okay, yes, we are connected with the technology, but we are alone, aloof. We are disconnected by heart. So this is a materialistic connection. This is connections, objective connections, but doesn't have any kind of a subjective relationship that could build up our life or that could add to quality of our life. So despite all networking, we are alone. We are aloof. This is, but the most important theme in another most important theme in is freedom. They talk too much about the freedom because to them this freedom is individual responsibility. Whatever you do in your life. So because of this freedom, every individual makes choices, and these choices they determine their life. So even whatever thing you choose, that's your choice, good or bad, right and wrong, your religion, your caste, your creed, your color, your priorities. These all things are the freedom, and the freedom is going to determine you have a freedom, and this freedom helps you to choose your choices. So then that is another topic because that is very much there every time this idea of the death keeps haunting you and you are taken away by this idea and that cannot be, that is inevitable. So you have to accept this reality because when there comes the matter of death, with the question of a death, that we are subjected to anxiety, depression. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live. So, but after living life as if death doesn't exist is irresponsibility. So he believed that you have to accept this. One day we all have to die. This death, and once you accept that, then it is where we start living a meaningful life. Okay. So conclusion here. This is a really thought-provoking theory. Let's talk about that. Man has to develop their own values in their life because with their choices, okay, these values help them to create a meaning in their life. There is not a predetermined meaning to life, but every individual has add meaning to his or her life with his choice and the freedom he is born with. Their identity is defined by actions and their responsibility for those actions. Everybody is responsible for his or her actions. Human have a freedom, but with that freedom comes the responsibility. We have to make choices. Each choice can lead to success or failure. This failure is quite individual in nature, and it's defined by this slogan that existence precedes essence. This means that we have no predetermined natures or essence that controls what we are, what we do, what is valuable for us, but um, determines or it uh, uh, problematize human existence, that it's not based on the pre-born essence, but it is based on the freedom it, associated to an individual and the choices made on the basis of that freedom, which determines the ultimate character and identity of that individual. So it propounds other aspect of this theory. Previously, it was essence precedes existence. Now they call existence precedes essence. We are radically free to act independently, our determinations by outside influences. Then we create our own human natures through these free choices. We also create our own values through these choices we are going to. So, what is a man but his choice? And his choice, he has to, man is a born with the freedom. Freedom is a responsibility. So, whatever he chooses, he has to bear the consequences. It's not only choice what you make in your life, but be ready for the consequences what you have to bear as a logical outcome of the choices you make in your life. So existentialists believe that man is responsible for his life in the world. Otherwise, there isn't any predetermined purpose to his life. So with this, I would end this theory, this movement of existentialism in literature and its outcomes. So different writers, they try to write about this work, about these concepts, and I quoted some of the examples of these um, existentialist writers, and some of their works are already included in syllabus what we you are studying, so you can make sense of this, how this individual is going to negotiate his agency in this world, in this universe that's full of chaos and disorder, and how he has meaning to his existence. Thank you very much for this wonderful session, and hope so you would keep working at your own and give proper time to your studies till we are allowed to meet in the classrooms after this COVID pandemics. Take good care of yours. Thank you very much. Bye.